Thank you, Corporal Douglas. And as Corporal Douglas McLean said, my role here is to apprise the public of the Emergency Powers COVID-19 No.2 regulations, which came into effect on the 27th of August 2021 and repeals the Emergency Powers COVID-19 regulations SRO No. 3. These regulations have been with us from the onset of the pandemic and continues to evolve as the COVID-19 threat and situation changes. The regulation seeks to minimize citizens' exposure to and seeks to control the spread of the highly contagious COVID-19 virus. As law enforcement, it is important to us that our constituents understand and follow these regulations. Stipulations of the regulations. Restriction of movement from the hours of 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily, with the exemptions for essential workers who are out for the purpose of providing an essential service. Another exemption is for medical emergencies. Requirement to wear mask. All persons who do not have a reasonable excuse must wear a mask, shield, or other face covering in public, in a motor vehicle with persons who are outside of their household. A child who is accompanied by an adult must wear a mask, and it is the duty of the adult to ensure that the child is wearing a mask. Owners and operators of business shall not permit anyone to enter or to remain on their premises without a mask. And employees working in an enclosed public space where the public has access to must wear a mask. And there are exemptions in the law for persons, and these are children under the age of 7 years, a person within the workplace who are in the designated area on their workplace and there is no one else present, persons on the beach or in the public park, if they are 6 feet away from other persons, or are with members of the household. Physical distancing protocols. Subregulation 2 of Regulation 5 says, every business establishment, office, including operators of omnibus and taxis, shall administer or ensure the sanitization of hands. Businesses are also expected to place markers which have been with us for some time, and I'm sure that persons are familiar with. And staff and customers must maintain a 6 feet physical distancing inside and outside of business premises. Business operations. Community shops selling intoxicating liquor must not permit more than 3 persons to be in the premises at any one point in time. And this regulation addresses specifically community shops that sell intoxicating liquor under the Liquor Dealers License Act. Businesses shall not host or facilitate any party-like activities, including bus tours, boat tours, private parties, and other forms of public entertainment. Businesses are also prohibited from playing amplified music or from hosting live entertainment. No food vendor or restaurant operator shall provide dining services in-house. Drive-through services and takeaway services are permitted by the new regulations. Restrictions as to events and gatherings. No person shall host or attend any event or gathering of any description whether at a beach or at their private home. And of course, the COP can grant permission in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer in writing for any exemption under this regulation. And as I guess we are well aware, funerals are 20 persons in addition to the officiant, as well as weddings. And the conditions are that there should be no party-like activities, including bus tours, private parties and beach parties, and there should be no amplified music. A private gathering of 20 persons are allowed. However, each person must be 6 feet apart from each other. Religious institutions, as I said, 20 persons in weddings and funerals, and persons must be 6 feet apart from each other. Public transportation, subregulation 9. No person shall eat or drink while traveling on a public service transportation. And we can understand the reason for that. Persons will be closely seated in the buses, and removing the mask to eat or drink exposes persons to the increased risk of being exposed to the virus. Masks are mandatory in bus, as well as hand sanitization measures. So the conductor is to ensure, or the bus driver must ensure, that persons' hands are sanitized, or that they sanitize their hands before entering the bus. There's also a restriction on visitation at the hospital and elderly homes, and home with elderly or persons in residential care. At the hospital, they may authorize one person, family member, to visit a patient. I will just go over the obligations, the personal obligations of persons under the regulations. Any person exhibiting or observe any person exhibiting any flu-like symptoms shall immediately notify a police station in his or her parish. A person who is asked to submit to testing must do so, submit themselves to testing when required to do so by the Chief Medical Officer. As I said again, no person shall eat or drink in the public service transportation, including taxis. Visitations to the prisons are prohibited under the Act. Hosting events at home are also prohibited. No party-like activities are permitted at home or in business places. Persons at the beach must be 6 feet away from each other so that they can be exempted from wearing the mask. And if they are in close proximity to anyone, it must be with members of their household, not related families or cousins, but you must be living in the same household to be exempted from wearing masks. As I said, an adult accompanying a child must ensure the child is fitted with a mask. Persons in private transportation, once you're giving someone else a ride who is not a member of your household, you must be wearing a mask. And with the curfew, persons must comply with the curfew hours. So these are the personal obligations of persons under the Act. And as I conclude, I must point out to the public that from the onset of the pandemic, we have had these regulations. To date, we have had approximately 34 amendments and 6 proclamations relating to the COVID-19 regulations. And one can appreciate the sheer volume of amendments that have been made with the aim of making these regulations effective as the situation changes on the ground. However, laws can only be as effective as they are complied with. It is therefore important that all conscious-minded citizens join with the RGPF to ensure that these laws are complied with by reporting their observations, and more importantly, by speaking out and encouraging others to comply with these regulations. It is one thing that COVID-19 has made clear to us is how connected we all are. because a number of persons who have become ill have complied with the regulations, but in interacting with others, we see how a few can affect many. From the onset, the RGPF has worked tirelessly to earn the cooperation of the public and encourage voluntary compliance with the COVID-19 laws. And as we see the impact of the pandemic on our businesses, our economies, and our communities, it is in our personal and national interest that we all control the spread of this disease. I thank you.